Welcome back, Warrior Family.
Yay!
We are celebrating 50 episodes today, Abby.
Woohoo!
50. I can't believe it.
We're going to party like it's our 50th episode.
What does that even look like? I have no idea. How do we party like it's our 50th episode? We podcast. Woo-hoo! We talk to you all, warriors, like we've been doing for the past 49 episodes, now 50. And it's been so joyful and inspiring and empowering and warm. Every episode we've done so far has brought so much lightness and so much joy and validation to my own life, to my own mind and heart, my anxious warrior heart. So I'm grateful to you, my co-host with the most, and to all of the warrior listeners out there.
Yes. It's definitely been super fun. We didn't know what we were doing at the beginning. We still may or may not know, right? But who knew we were going to make it to 50? And here we are. And it's just been amazing. All the people we connect to, the fun you and I have had together. I very much cherish all of this so far of this journey.
Yes. And we cherish all of you warrior listeners, everyone from day 1 to day now 50.
Thanks, moms.
Definitely our moms and many other people that have lovingly left reviews and reached out and just part of our Instagram family. And who knew we would make it 50? I love that you shared that part. It's like we didn't know when we started what it was going to be like or what it's going to be like in the future. So it's just great to feel like we've hit a milestone. Every milestone's a win. You know, we love celebrating wins big and small here on the pod. So we're celebrating. Celebrate 50 episodes. Come on. Woohoo! Goodness. Okay. So warriors, we have an incredible guest lined up for today's 50th episode. I mean, all of our guests are freaking amazing.
Yes.
I know we've said it a million times. I'll keep saying it. We feel so lucky that so many incredible people have agreed to be on our show. And today is no different.
Yes.
We had a wonderful chat with a super fantastic person. Her name is SonJoria Sydnor. And before Abby jumps into a little bit of a recap of our convo, let me let you all know a little bit about who SonJoria is. SonJoria Sydnor is a wife, mother, and author who's passionate about health and well-being. She is the owner of Our Families Doing Yoga, LLC, a parenting educator and a certified yoga instructor, using her knowledge and voice to increase representation of Black families in the wellness industry. All right, Abby, tell us a little bit about this convo.
Yeah. So she is just such a light and does such a beautiful job of just painting a beautiful story, painting her story with her words. Like I felt myself just constantly like getting images and stuff and making connections in a different way based on the way she was sharing her story.
Yeah.
Sanjoria starts off by sharing that she remembers when she was a child, she was pretty chill. In her younger years, she was pretty chill. You know, when other people were feeling nervous or anxious, she would remind them that it's going to be okay. Things are going to work out. And that she didn't really notice much anxiety. And then it was at some point when she was pregnant with her second child that she started to notice feelings of overwhelm and anxiousness. And she assumed that maybe it was part of pregnancy. And then people reinforced like, oh, it's just your hormones. But after she had her second child, she was like, wait a second, this feels like anxiety. And so in this conversation, she shares a lot about her journey of going from, not having much anxiety to becoming an anxiety warrior. And how she's really learned that by setting boundaries, it supports her well-being. And that part of her being an anxiety warrior is being able to self-advocate, practice self-care, and then offer herself grace through the process, which was such a powerful point in our conversation.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that, all you warriors are about to hear such a warm, wonderful, grounded person just speak very candidly about her journey. And I appreciated so much about what SonJoria shares. So we really hope that for today, our 50th episode of Anxiety Warriors podcast, I cannot believe it. Yeah. We've selected this incredible interview for you all. So we hope that you enjoy. Here's the show. Welcome back, warrior family.
Yay.
We are so excited to be joined with the wonderful SonJoria Sydnor. SonJoria, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy. You always get my name right. Thank you.
You know, what's so funny is that our mutual friend, Jessica Moo, just said the exact same thing to me when we recorded. She was like, yeah, thank you. You're like the only person that said my name correctly. I think it comes from having a name that everyone always says incorrectly. Myself, growing up, it was the same for me. So like, I take it it's like a very important to me to get people's names correct.
Totally.
Right. All right. Yeah. So let's just dive right in, Sanjoria. Tell us a little bit about how anxiety shows up in your life or how it showed up.
Oh, anxiety showed up in my life. So I don't quite remember dealing with anxiety so in childhood, I did have a little bit of depression, but not so much anxiety. I don't remember experiencing any anxiety until after I had children. I was really, really chill from what I can remember. Like I said, our memories are really fuzzy these days. But I do recall one specific situation where that always sticks out in my mind when I think about it. Is I was working and I've worked with children for forever. And one of the teachers that I was working with was kind of falling apart a little bit because of a snow situation and wet kids. And I was like, chill out. It's going to be okay. And so she would always say over the 10 years that we worked together, Sanjoria says, chill out. It's going to be okay. And that typically was like my mind frame, like, chill out. It's going to be okay. I can't control it. If I can't control it, so I don't really remember it showing up until I was pregnant with I had my first child. I remember a little bit, but then it was my second child that just like spun everything. It was being pregnant with her. I remember just all of the feelings of what is this? And didn't know what it was. Like, I just felt overwhelmed all the time. I was forgetting just simple things like over and over again, leaving my keys in the car. Like it was pretty bad. But yeah, it would be when I was an adult and pregnant with my second child was when I started to see it.
Wow. So first of all, like, I'm just like, how does it feel to like not have anxiety your entire childhood? Like, and to just be chill. Like, I love it's going to be okay. It's going to work out. And like, those are words of wisdom, especially for anxiety warriors, right? But, and it's usually true. But then when we're feeling anxiety, it's like, no, it's not going to work out. I'm going to have all these like,
Yeah. And I get that now.
So what happened during that time where you're starting to feel overwhelmed and you're feeling forgetful? Are you just like, oh, this is pregnancy brain? Or are you like, wait a second, something's going on here? Like, what happened?
It was pretty much wondering for a very long time. I was mentioning to friends and kind of like, what is going on? And everyone said, everyone blames everything on hormones when you're pregnant. And so everyone said that. And what really stuck out was just before I got pregnant, I was helping to co-found a breastfeeding organization. And while I was starting this, I started to do a lot of trainings around just supporting women prenatal and postpartum. And as I was doing these trainings, I started to see myself in some of the symptoms and things that they were showing. So I had never been really diagnosed with anything, but I started to see some of those things. And I was like, oh, look, this is what I've been dealing with all this time. And honestly, like, my feelings are real. Like, wow.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love that. Just the ability to have, and this has come up for Abby and myself, this has come up with so many of our guests, the ability to see and be able to witness validation in some form, whether it's through reading something, having a conversation with someone that's experienced what you've experienced, right? It's just like, okay, I'm not crazy. This is a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I see that in a lot of, I love following you guys because I'm like, you're speaking to me.
We feel seen, right?
Yes.
Oh my God. So amazing. So actually, I'm so glad that you brought up about, the amazing organization that you helped to co-found, the I Am Breastfeeding. I love this part of our conversation because and you kind of just touched on it lightly about how you figured out, okay, these are the things that I need to learn about to help women that are in this part of their life at this extremely important um, transitional part of their life. And they're entering into motherhood and all the challenges that comes with. And as a mom yourself, I'm sure that now you had not only a new appreciation for what anxiety was, but what anxiety surrounding being a mom was, right? So
Right.
like tell our listeners a little bit more about like your postpartum anxiety.
So what it felt like is you have one child. So I had one child up to this point, and we like people would say all the time, like, don't buy kids loud toys. And when people would like bring them in, I'd be like, oh, it's fine. I don't have a problem with loud toys. It's not. But when you add more children into it, or you add like stressful situations into it, like everything becomes magnified. And so I went from telling my son, drum as loud as you want, to like, shh, 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 like all the time. And it was may not have even been like if someone on the outside was stepping into our lives, they probably wouldn't have even noticed. But for me, it was like everything was magnified. Everyone needed me. Even the dog was sleeping on my feet and the baby was being like, just everything felt intense. And as a breastfeeding advocate, it was really crazy because I was not enjoying my breastfeeding experience with my second child. I remember just like feeling just so overwhelmed, so touched out. So, and that's that postpartum thing that moms go through in general. But then like it just continued on and it just got it was kind of crazy. So for the most part, I just wanted to shut down, shut everything out.
Yeah.
And I could outside of being a mom. So I still had to do my day-to-day tasks and day-to-day duties. So it kind of took away from my socialization because if there's a quiet time in my house, I don't want to talk to anyone else.
Yeah.
Like I don't want, like, I love you, but please don't call me.
That's
Yeah.
so good.
Down.
I love that because I feel like you just put a part of my life that I never had words for, like in words. Like it, I mean, I talk about like being socially anxious or this or that, but no, sometimes it's just things are so overwhelming, things are so noisy, like in our heads, in our bodies, and in our surroundings, that those moments of quiet, it's like, yeah, it changes your behavior, it changes the way you act in the world because you want to savor those moments. Like,
so true.
Yeah. Right.
We've talked a lot about sensory overload on this
Yes.
podcast, from me especially. So, oh man, I could so feel you on that.
Yeah.
I love that you guys touch on that because up until recently, a lot of people that I run into are not even aware of sensory overload for adults. Like they don't like they're like, oh wow, it's one of those things like maybe that's what I'm feeling. So I love that we talk about these things because not enough people know that, yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
grown-ups too. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I can never live in New York City. It is too much. It is a sensory overload.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did when you started to realize like, oh, okay, all of a sudden I'm not really liking loud sounds so much. Everything feels magnified. I'm feeling like overwhelmed and like, I don't know. I got the sense of like depleted, like everyone always wants something from you.
Yes.
How did this like transfer when you're working with these other mothers? Because if you hadn't had this experience, you might have been working with them differently than having this experience of anxiety. So what happened with that?
It was really great because our breastfeeding support groups were set up as a peer-to-peer interaction. So a lot of times, and so our thought process was we're going to try to keep this as positive as possible, but sometimes they turned into these venting sessions, but they always were positive. And I was talking to one of the co-founders the other day, and we talked about how being in charge of this organization and everything could sometimes feel overwhelming. We have to be here. And we had 3 children. I had 3, she had 4, that we were gathering to be here to support. We had to have food for all of this stuff. And then we'd show up, and by the time we left, even us as the founders were like, oh, that felt so good. It was great to just have community to talk those issues through and to share, like, this is real and you're experiencing this and it's okay. And in my experience, this is what it looked like for me. And so does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
And
Yes.
it gives me chills. I mean, the whole thing with community is like, right. It's like you want to keep a pleasant, positive environment, but you also want to share like the realness of the experiences and the truth of what everyone's going through, and the things you share in common and the things that aren't in common, and how it just makes everyone feel less alone in their own experiences. Like, yeah.
I know, full body chills.
Yeah.
As humans, our greatest thing is that we want to belong. Even when we don't want to be bothered, we still want to belong. It's like, invite me. I won't come, but invite me.
Yes. Literally. So seen. Right. It's like, I don't want to be left out of the situation. I want to turn you down. Not because I don't love you or want to see you or be with you, but because, I want to know that the option is there, but I most likely will say no.
Yes.
And I love people that get me. I had someone the other day, well, this has been a while, but I remember telling her, if I say no, like, I felt like I could truly be honest with this person, which I've done a lot of work on only surrounding myself with people who I feel I can be honest with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I may turn you down. And if I turn you down, please just keep asking. That doesn't mean that I'll never say yes. It's just that right now is not a good time. But yeah, don't.
Oh my gosh. I love that.
Yeah.
It's so important because, and the fact that you communicated that to that person, right? And as you said, it's so important that we all have people in our life that we can be truly honest with and say the things that are hard and complicated that might scare them off or offend them even, but if they're the right people, it won't offend them, right? It's just you setting that boundary and having it be clearly stated, but also saying like, but I'm still here. And maybe one time out of 10, I'm going to say, yes, I will meet you for coffee or whatever.
And it's going to be a great time, right?
Yes. Yeah. You'll make it a great time. Don't forget Sanjoria, everyone. Keep inviting her.
Yeah.
So
I love this because I think that that's some of the fear, especially around like just social anxiety or like all of that, is the fear or the the discomfort of, oh no, if I say no, maybe they won't ask me again. Like maybe their feelings will be hurt. Okay, fine. We could probably figure that out. Right. But if I say I'm not coming, then there's like the guilt of not going. And then the fear of like, oh, but maybe I won't be asked again. So now I have to push through and like compromise.
So yeah, it's so hard. And honestly, counting like, okay, I told this person no 3 times. So this is the 4th time I should probably say yes.
Yes.
I love that.
It's so good. Yeah.
It's the
so
keeping
real.
track. It's like, oh my gosh, I've said no 3 times. I better say yes the next time so I'm not rejected.
Right. How many times can I say no before this person's like, no, we're done. Reevaluate this relationship. So amazing. We've heard from so many of our guests, and we've talked so often about the value of community. And since you were talking about postpartum anxiety too, it's like I work for a company who deals with pregnant women and young families and new families, and their 4th trimester support groups are just the most popular things in the world because these moms have just become a mom. They need like the world's most support right at that moment. I mean, all moms need support all the time, right? But like right after the baby comes, right? It's like it's like that full aloneness. And I think it's just what you're doing, what your organization is offering to mothers who are struggling with breastfeeding or don't have, access to materials about breastfeeding or don't know if it's for them or whatever. I want to just thank you for supporting moms in the way that you do.
Thank you. It's definitely, what is it? Passion work and heart. Like it feels good to do it. I can't think of the term for that, but it's the work that you do that in the end, like you're the one who walks away with the oh my
Yeah.
gosh, this was such a great experience. And it does feel that way because not up until recently, like it was like postpartum, fourth trimester has just become a thing, right?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
yeah,
That's true.
it's a big deal. So yeah, I'm really excited about the work and I'm appreciative of people who notice.
Yes. There needs to be more people who notice.
Yeah.
Moms in general, right? I mean, more people need to notice. Okay. So you had told this great story in our call. You were like, you weren't feeling yourself. Your son came up to you one day and was like, Mom, why are you always smiling? And then right away it made you kind of question. You're like, but I don't feel happy at all. I'm not happy at all right now. Why am I always smiling? And it was sort of like this aha moment for you, this moment of reflection that kind of got you into, who you are today as an author and as a yoga teacher and someone that meditates regularly. So just like tell our listeners a little bit more about that experience.
So it was a little different. So he would always say, so he was the only child at this point, and he was asking Mom, like, why are you always smiling? And I remember telling him, I didn't even notice. I guess I'm just always happy. And then I noticed during the pregnancy of my second child and afterwards that I wasn't always smiling. And I felt like I was barely ever smiling at home. Now, as we spoke, when I was at work, I was able to put on a good face. And I recall like people, now that I'm very like vocal about my experience through postpartum, like people that are like closely connected to me often say, I didn't know. Like, really? Like some people I would totally get wouldn't know because like I put on the face, right?
Yeah.
But then even the ones who were closest to me, like just were like, really, I didn't know. And I was like, oh, okay, well, but it was, so that's when it happened. It was just like, wow, I'm sitting here and I have the best life ever. And I was really, really excited about my life. But at the same time, I felt depleted so much. I felt like I felt like it was all a fog. And I remember a lot of just like, I'm not happy and I'm smiling at work from day to day. I don't know. You just hear now you hear the conversations and you hear people talk about it. And it's like, that's exactly what I was doing. I was putting on this fake front to look good for everyone. And they say, what is the thing with anxiety and depression? When people talk about it or when they're sharing their experiences, listen to them, because most times they're not sharing. They're not telling you. They don't want you to know, So when they talk about it, it really is real and you might want to pay attention. So
Yeah.
But I don't know if that answers the question.
Yes. And it's so true. Like I just got chills again because you're right. Like when we're experiencing anxiety, and I'll speak for me, but I think everyone can relate. It's like there is so much that we don't communicate on a moment to moment basis. And so when we're actually at the point where either one, we're like, I'm feeling anxiety and I need some extra support, or we don't even realize we're feeling the anxiety, but we know we need extra support. Like when we get to that point of like needing to communicate, right? Because I think a lot of warriors can relate to like not wanting to feel like a burden, wanting to feel like they have it all together. Maybe they feel a little perfectiony or control-y or whatever it is, right? So those moments when they actually communicate what's going on, it's like, don't dismiss it. Like,
right.
Let
and
people
feel
know.
honored that they trust you enough to share with you.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
right.
I don't know if honor was the right word, but you kind of get
No, it is. I think it is. I mean, yeah, honor sounds like it's an honor but to a certain extent, I do think that's a great word because it means that this person is giving you the gift of their feelings and their thoughts and the way that they feel, right? The way that who they are in this moment. And they probably maybe don't give that to everybody.
Yes.
So yeah, I think honor is a good word.
It's vulnerable when we don't want to come off like a burden, when we want to come off like we have it all together. And then we're like, I'm struggling. It's a really vulnerable place to be because we don't know how the other people will respond.
Oh my gosh. there's this, I sent this to my family today because the end of 2021 and the beginning of this year has been pretty rough for my extended family, like just a lot of family issues going on. So I saw this on social media, and there's like this picture of a sink, like let's say it's a bathroom sink, and it's broken. So it's not even really a basin, it's just like a drain. And then like the drain is not even connected to the faucet, but the faucet is there, and it's like water running into it. Like, so it's functioning. And so the meme says, like, if you ask me how I'm feeling and I say I'm functioning, this is what I mean. Like, that's so perfect. Like,
It really is.
It works. The water runs and it goes into the drain, but there's not hardly anything else surrounding it. And sometimes that's how we feel. Like, it's like I'm barely maintaining, but here I am.
Right. It's like we feel like we're running on empty all the time.
Mhm.
Right. It's like functioning is such a baseline. It's like, should we all be striving to be functioning human
Right.
or should we be striving to be like thriving human beings, happy human beings, or at least, you know, more better able to be aware of how we're doing? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to just be functioning. I can't speak for everyone else, but that's such a great visual.
Yeah. Yeah.
Funny. All right. So tell our listeners a little bit about some of the ways that you love to cope with your anxiety. What are some of your go-to strategies?
Oh, so funny. Because just before we hopped on, I was like taking a nap. Well, trying to take a nap. I have 3 kids, so that's kind of hard. But I closed my eyes. And so taking naps, yoga, meditation, my favorite, Dr. Pepper. I don't have my bottle with me, but Dr. Pepper, whenever I was sharing that some, you know, we all have our things, right? And some people like a glass of wine, and some people like cannabis. Like, everyone has their different things that they like, right? Mine is Dr. Pepper. And it's like not even a relaxing drink, but that's the thing. Like, when I'm stressed, I'm like, oh, I need something strong. I get a Dr. Pepper. And I also enjoy journaling when I get a chance, when I remember to just like, I like to keep it on the side of my bed and try to pull that out and journal every once in a while. And I used to just really enjoy scrapbooking. I was showing off one of my scrapbooks the other day, and I was like, oh my goodness, I really need to get back into this. But I love scrapbooking. I take pictures all the time, so I need something to do with it. And it's therapeutic.
Yes.
I
love that, like, your non-calming drink is what you grab when you're looking to calm down.
Right. All the caffeine.
Well, it's like there are some hilarious you know, Instagram reels and memes and stuff too. It's just like I have anxieties, I better drink some coffee. Like, okay, now I have jitters, I better drink more coffee. And it's just like the coffee was like obviously not the best thing for this person, but not everyone, but plenty of people are like reaching for caffeine, you know? It's somewhat, it's part of our culture, and there's nothing inherently wrong with it either, right? Like, if you're good, you know, you haven't had your caffeine for the day, if it works for you, exactly.
Yeah. And I love the duality in the different things you go to support yourself, right? There's like the Dr. Pepper, which I gotta say, like, is a fabulous soda. Like, one of my favorites, you know, like, if I'm going to have a soda, I feel you on the Dr. Pepper. But so there's that one, which is a little bit more energizing and stuff. And then there's like scrapbooking, which is quiet and it's focused and it's, you know, I mean, when I think of scrapbooking, I think of quiet, focused, soothing, engaging, therapeutic, totally. And so I love the like duality in those. It's like sometimes I just need a Dr. Pepper and sometimes I need to find time to scrapbook. And
and it's funny because who knows, it could just be those different, because anxiety shows up in all of us so differently, and in ourselves it shows up different at different times. So maybe those times that I'm needing a Dr. Pepper, maybe it's because I need some energy, I need some, you know, and then the other time. So I've never even thought about it that way. But yeah, maybe it's just reaching for what I need at the time. And that's
beautiful thing. It's all a lesson in self-curiosity, right?
Yeah.
We're just constantly trying to take the time that we need to be curious about what we're dealing with. And like, even in one of our most recent episodes, I was sharing with Abby about how I had just like completely had a meltdown. I was at the end of my rope. I threw my phone. I was very upset, and I had this discomfort for a really long time. And then all of a sudden I was like, I'm freaking anxious right now. That's the problem, is that I have anxiety. And then we laughed because it's like, we podcast about anxiety. We talk about anxiety. Like, it feels like every day, all day sometimes. And yet we're still learning about the way that our anxiety shows up in us.
Yes. And I feel like it's going to be like an ever evolving thing. Like it's going to change.
Yeah.
As like I just went from saying I really don't even remember it showing up in childhood, but then I had it pregnancy and postpartum, and I'm sure as my kids get older it'll look a little different. And they may not even be part of what's adding to it. Like it's gonna change. And so always figuring out that, okay, now I got it. That's part of the anxiety, right? So now I have my anxiety under control. Wait, it's changing. There's something different.
Yeah, right. It's shape-shifting.
Yes. Yeah. Just getting more along the way, picking up some anxieties, letting go of some, shows up in different ways, sweatiness, shaking, overthink. It's like, it's an ever shape-shifting part of
ever shape-shifting. Okay. So funny. It's it's hilarious. And at the same time, it's like, oh man.
Yeah.
All the duality. All right. So in our call, you said this line that really stuck out to me. I'm going to quote you right now. You said, I am the author of my own life. And so I just was obsessed with this quote. I find it to be so empowering. So just tell our listeners a little bit about what you mean by that.
So I think it's part of being able to, I don't want to say self-regulate, but just have this sense of, control over, and control is definitely not the word, but we're going to use it. Okay. Control over like my anxiety and my emotions, and realizing that you do have some control over it to a certain extent. I am the author of my life. I get to decide what I'm going to take on. I just recently was speaking about this, like there's no way to truly balance things. You have to constantly play with, what are you going to add? If you have a little bit more like slack, then add something. If you don't, then what are you going to remove? And deciding at each time, like what I can remove. And that'll look different all the time. But realizing that I have control over what I am going to take on for the day. And it's just, that's kind of what I remember all the time when I'm like getting to the point where I'm feeling like I'm taking on way too much. I'm like, wait, you're the author of your own life. Like, you don't have to say yes to things that make you feel uncomfortable. You don't have to say yes to things that you don't really want to do to please other people, right? It's okay to say no. And so I'm really like learning that. And as a mom, I'm really tackling that because I have children who I want to be able to self-advocate for themselves. I have a son that I want him to understand, because he's the most caring child in the world. I want him to know that it's okay. And we're constantly having this conversation. It's okay for you to say no. You don't have to say yes to make someone happy if it makes you unhappy. Now, if it makes you feel good to say yes, then have at it, but if you don't feel good about it, but you see a big smile on someone else's face, then how does that help the situation? And so remembering that myself from time to time, and especially being a mom, a wife, a sister, a mom, all of those things. And it's like, I can't say yes to everything. And I'm blessed to have such a wonderful mom who, she may push a little bit, but she does know that once I say no, that I know it's usually no. My best friend always says, you have the strongest boundaries. And I really, really appreciate that. And I'm like, thank you. Like, I don't know where it comes from, but I appreciate when I'm able to pull from that as well.
Yes. Yeah, there's so many pieces that you said, like the ability to like remember, right? And then
Yes.
instilling it in your children, like it's okay to say no. But I really liked when you're talking about like being the author of your own life. And I've heard like phrases of that in different ways, but the way that you described it, I just had this image of like being able to be super self-aware in a lot of situations where like when something presents itself, it's like I'm the author of this book and I look at it, it's like, huh, what would this character Abby do right now? Right? Does she need a break? Does
Right.
she need to take something else on?
Yeah.
And just the way you described it like gave me this whole visual of like we can like be part of that witness self to ourselves and really see like, oh, okay, let me see myself as a character and what I can help myself do on this journey. Like,
Yes. I mean, if you think about it, like our life is a story. And at the end, when your great nieces, grandchildren, whoever are reading the story, like what do you want them to get from the type of person you were? Do you want them to see that you were like this frazzled person that pleased everyone because you thought that it was all right? Or do you want them to get, what do you want? I mean, everyone is going to be different, but for me, I want my story to be she really learned and learned how to take care of herself, how to advocate for herself, and she instilled that love and that care into all those around her. That's what I want my story to, like, you to get out of my story. So
Yes. Oh, it's like the power and agency that we all kind of can have over our own lives, over our stories. It's just such a beautiful picture.
yeah.
And what you said, Abby, it's like in my head, I was visualizing it as like a conveyor belt of like things that you can remove and put on. And so like when you were painting that imagery for us, Sanjoria, about like, it's like I get to decide what I want to put on my plate today, right? What can I take off the plate? Am I giving myself too many tasks in one day, right?
yes.
And then what will all those tasks or all those too many things do to me physically and mentally? Will I be able to show up as my best self in my role as a wife or a mom or, you know, a yoga teacher or an author, whatever. So I just, and I'm obsessed with boundaries. We all need to get on the boundaries train.
Yes.
Yeah.
So good.
And what a friend to like support that, right? Like and honor it. Like you're amazing at boundary setting. Like
she is an amazing person. I've known her since I was 12. We've been best friends for years, and she truly is an amazing person. So yeah, only an amazing person would say that.
Yeah, right.
That's true. That's very true. Abby and I have said that exact thing to each other. So that's how we know. Amazing, recognizing amazing over here. All right. So what advice, if you could go back in time, what advice would you give young Sanjoria?
Advice that I would give, you know what? I think that it would be to listen to my body and to advocate for myself and to know that your feelings are valid. Like, I would love to tell every little girl, every little boy that your feelings are valid. It's really, really hard as a mom when you have my spicy baby, like she can push buttons and she's really, really like, I call it full of life. She's really full of life. And sometimes I'm having to unlearn that, you know, that whole you're not like it's okay. You're okay, you know, and your feelings are valid. And so are mine. I need you know, like trying to like let her know. So yeah, I want every child to know that your feelings are valid.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that everything will go your way and that you can change every situation, but to take a moment to notice how you feel and take a moment to notice that how that affects you and know that it's real. And then you can move on to the next step, whatever that may be.
I love
so
it.
good.
It's so, I mean, so valuable. Like just knowing your emotions and knowing they're valid and learning from them to apply to the next step. Yeah.
Mhm.
I feel like
It's
we all
always
could relate to that advice.
very much so.
Yeah.
It's always the best advice that you would give to the young version of yourself is the advice that you want for the next generation, right?
Yeah.
For your
Yes.
children, for your students, for whomever. So yeah, it's just so beautifully said. All right. Final question before we have some fun and get into lightning round.
Okay.
What does being an anxiety warrior mean to you?
So being an anxiety warrior means to me that I'm constantly tackling the symptoms of being able to self-advocate for myself. I use that word a lot, but it's so important.
Yeah.
And to offer myself self-care.
Mhm.
And one more, and that's the offer myself grace.
Mm.
That's what it feels like. It's like three different parts. It's like every day. So I try not to put more than two things on my calendar every day. And that's really, really hard. And when I say that, I mean like no matter like if it's important enough to go on the calendar, then it's one of those two things. Now, there's some things that I just got to do, and it doesn't necessarily have to go on the calendar. But if it's important enough to go on the calendar, then I look at my calendar and I'm like, okay, I have two things. And I know for myself that once I get past those two major things, then I'm a little frazzled. So being able to be like, okay, I know that it doesn't sound like a lot, but I'm self-advocating for myself, and that's what I can handle. And that's part of my self-care. And it's all right for me to offer myself that. That's my grace. So
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes. Right. Setting boundaries, saying two things at once, like that's it. Two things a day is a form of self-care, and
yes.
like self-preservation and well-being. And then, right. Offering yourself grace through the process is just like, it's just so kind,
Yeah. I was
it's-
thinking that too, Abby. It's just like, it's that self-kindness that we need more of.
yeah.
Especially as an anxiety warrior. It's like we need to because we pick at ourselves all the time, and it's like, oh, what? If other people were able to handle this, then why can't I handle this? You know what? It's not my job to worry about what other people can handle. It's my job to worry about what I can handle. And this is enough for me. And that's okay. And that is really a new thing that I'm taking on and being able to say, you know what? I know that so-and-so is doing so much and it seems, but I really don't know what's going on in her head. Like, I don't know what she's dealing with, but I do know where that puts me, and I need to be able to show up as my best self. And so being able to show up in my best self is to do these things.
So good. More full body chill.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
There we go.
Yes. So many tingle fingers. Incredible. All right. So, Sanjoria, are you ready for some lightning round?
I think so.
Lightning coming at you. So, from when we went live together, you can pause, take a breath. You do not have to answer quickly. Consider your answer before shouting it out.
Okay.
We'll go back and forth, just a handful of fun, get to know Sanjoria type questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, Abby, who's going first?
You want to go first this time?
I'll go first. Okay. So we just finished the Winter Olympic Games. I don't know if you watched or didn't, and I watched like almost none of it, but it got me thinking about like if you could get a gold medal in one real event, but then one completely BS made up event. Like, I don't know, for me, it'd be like, I would love to gold medal in like women's gymnastics, but I'd also love a gold medal in like a taco eating contest. So like something that's true, like a real event that you would have loved or that you love or whatever, and then like a gold medal in something else.
Okay. Well, something that's real, we're just throwing this out because this is totally out of character because I don't like cold weather. But if I could go medal, it would be like I'm sure, and I don't watch them. So I think I heard you guys, one of your like, why you don't watch sports. And I was like, oh, I feel sane. Like, so
Yes. That was me. Yeah.
No.
So skiing would be it. Like, yeah. So
Shoop.
it sounds so great. I really want to go one day, but then I get worried about how cold I'll be and will I enjoy it? And then something just made up. Let's see. I mean, the taco eating contest like sounded so great to me. We could eat like tacos. Well, I could eat tacos. I don't know, ask my family, but I can eat tacos like at least twice a week. So
you want to share that gold medal? You want to share the gold? We can share the gold medal.
I think that one would totally work for me. And then I just love food in general. So it would definitely be food related. So without taking your taco one, I'll let you keep that medal. But anything related to food and eating, and I show up
and win the gold.
So good.
Oh, I love it. I feel like I'm gonna have a hard time following this. This was such a good question. Okay, I'm gonna have to do some music, So, what was the last song that was stuck in your head for at least a day?
The last song stuck in my head. I'm so sorry. It's definitely We Don't Talk About Bruce.
Yes. Yes.
So good.
And you gave us a line. Yes.
Abby was going to follow up with like sing a line, but
yes, I was.
We're going to go technical. Although we could pause here and you could like really take us there.
It was our wedding day.
It was our wedding day. Oh my gosh, so good. It's I'm so glad that you have 3 kids. Abby and I don't have kids, but yet of course we've seen Encanto a bunch of times.
Yeah,
listen to the soundtrack because we're giant children. Okay.
Yeah.
Listen to Bruno on repeat. My brain needed that. Just repeat it over and over.
This is gonna be in my head for the rest of the night now.
I always get the 7-foot frame with rats along. Always 7-foot frame, rats along his back.
Yes, it's Lin-Manuel. The man can do no wrong. He's a genius.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Here comes my next question. Since we know that you show up for the food, okay, if you could only have one food the rest of your life, every meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, what would it be?
I would have to say that it would probably be seafood. So I can't be specific, sorry, but seafood would be my thing. Like,
fair enough.
Yeah, it would have to be something seafood related. And I mean, if I could get a ton of crab meat, then
yes,
maybe that would be it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I love seafood. So it's like, as soon as you said seafood, I'm like, it wasn't specific enough, but I'll take it.
Yeah, that's right. You can have the fish tacos. You can have the sushi.
Yeah. And you can't really ask a foodie to just
fair enough. That's what makes it hard though. You got to make these questions hard sometimes. All right.
Okay. Here's my super, super hard question. Following up from Bruno. If you could get one of the powers from the Madrigal family, which power would you like?
I think okay. It may be being able to hear. I say that because like, who doesn't want to hear what other people across the, have you guys seen the commercial with the super hearing aid that was for like older people, and like they'll be watching TV and it'll be at a lower setting, but they can turn up their hearing aid to hear.
Yes.
Like, oh my gosh, that would be so cool. Like I could hear what my neighbors are saying about
yes.
me.
See, that's what would trip me up. I feel like in theory it sounds great, but I have enough voices in my head. I don't need other people.
Right.
I don't know.
I honestly, the other one that I thought about, and I was like, well, do I really want to be other people? Was the shift change? But do I really like want to like advocate for people wanting to be someone other than themselves? See, I got deep.
So deep. Yeah, you're right. Wow, you took it there. To me,
Yes.
I'd be like, because the transitions for that guy were really fast. Like he could
Yeah.
literally just
Mhm.
shapeshift like that. It's like I think I could
You can handle that
get down
one.
with
Yeah.
that. I can get down with
Yeah.
that. It's like cosplay, like light warp speed. Okay, wait, is it my turn?
Your turn now.
Okay, my final question, and I'm sticking with food. Maybe it's just because it's almost dinner time here. I'm getting hungry. My stomach is talking to me.
Yes.
So what is your? It's a twofer. It's a twofer. Okay.
Okay.
What is your favorite ice cream flavor? And then I want you to make the sound of brain freeze.
Okay. So I don't necessarily have a favorite ice cream flavor because I don't eat a lot of ice cream.
Okay,
So
what
we
about
have
Italian
a
ice?
tub of ice cream in there right now that everyone goes through, but I don't, it's lactose. It's a lactose. But I do eat it, but I have to like really, really crave it. So not a lot of ice cream. If I did have a favorite,
What about like an icy? If you prefer, like, do you like ices? No. Slurpee?
it's not really like, no.
All right then.
Frozen Dr. Pepper.
No. Okay, now you're talking.
Yes.
I could do a Dr. Pepper float.
Okay.
There we go.
There you go. Took it home. So
Yeah.
now let's hear what brain freeze sounds like when you get brain freeze.
my
What does
God.
that sound like?
I guess that would sound like,
Yes.
I don't know.
It was brilliant. Brilliant.
I love it.
So good.
Okay. So my final one, I will not bring it back to Encanto this time.
Okay.
But I will bring it back to, so you have kids, and I'm assuming, I'm making a hard assumption that your kids have watched TV shows at some point.
Yes.
What is the kids' TV show that you would be so happy if you never saw another episode?
Oh gosh, that should be really easy because so I can be detailed and I'd have to think a little bit more about it, but this may be okay for you. There is a rule that if you watch TV in mommy's room, you cannot watch kids' YouTube.
Okay.
That's my rule. You can watch whatever you want, but you cannot watch kids' YouTube, because if I wanted to hear kids playing, I would watch you guys. That's my rule. And so they all know we can't watch kids' YouTube in mommy's room. Kids are just playing with all day long, and I'm not interested.
Yeah, I don't get that at all. It's so outside of me growing up and having any,
Right. We're too old for the understanding of what and why
Like
that
the
is.
new reality. Well, I guess it's reality TV for them.
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of sad. Oh man, it's like reality TV is like screwing with our brains. I can't imagine what it's doing to children. Oh,
I don't know your ages, but yeah, when reality TV first came out, like for me, it was like MTV, the house one, when everyone had
the real world.
Real world.
Yes.
That's what it was. And it was kind of interesting, but even then it was only interesting to watch a couple of episodes and then I was over it.
Yes.
Oh, I was on the rabbit hole with that. I watched all the real world seasons and the road rules.
Road Rules.
I remember Road Rules.
Yes, they were the OGs. They were two of the OGs for reality TV. Oh my gosh, this was so much fun. Thank you so much for playing with us, Sanjoria. Before we let you go and before you tell us a little bit about where we can find you or where all the Warrior listeners can find you, do you have a win of the week to share with us? Something big or small, because we know that small wins are big wins here.
My win of the week would probably, so there's two things. I've set a goal to actually do something for myself every Sunday. And I'm feeling really good. One of those things is actually go do yoga outside of the house. And so when I stepped in on Sunday and they were like, what, 4th Sunday in a row? I was like, yes, I'm trying. You noticed. Thank you.
Yes.
So that's been consistent. And that's really like, it's kind of hard for us to for me to be able to get out the house every week at the same time, but it's great. And then the other one was that I accomplished a task work related tasks that I've been putting off for a very long time. It's probably my anxiety, but but I accomplished it. So 2 wins, great week.
Honestly, I'm so impressed with like the 4 weeks in a row. That's a habit now, right? Now you're in a habit mode.
Yeah, I'll be
So
there.
good. So good. All right. So tell everyone about, if you want to share with us a little bit about your podcast, Tea with Yoga Mama, and where anyone can find you on social or connect with you.
So Tea with the Yoga Mama is a new podcast that I launched. I think this week, coming Saturday, will be the 8th episode. So I'm really excited and cheering about that because it was something I was running away from for a while. So 8 episodes, yay!
Woohoo!
And it's just where I share like my personal experience about being a Black woman, being a mother, being an entrepreneur, but all of those things, how they tie into my wellness and the different aspects of how I'm able to handle things. And then I invite, like, there'll be, not currently yet, but in my head, my husband will share a little bit about like his wellness experience and, being married to me and what that looks like. And every episode I share like a helpful tip or a helpful quote. And I share tea. Like, so we're having this conversation over my cup of tea.
Yes.
And sometimes I mention like what I'm sipping on if I'm really enjoying it, or I'll mention a company that I bought it from. And so getting some of those things, but it's just about wellness and then my experience. So I'm hoping it'll evolve into like so much more. They're really short episodes right now as a mom. But I find them, they work great because I have about 15 minutes, and I'm sure there's other people out there who have about 15 minutes.
Yes.
That's beautiful. It's so great. We're so happy for you. And like you said, everyone needs 15 minutes to themselves, especially the mom is listening out there.
Yes.
And then how can everyone connect with you?
So you can find me if you're looking to support us by purchasing a book, or we have a new product coming out. You can find us on our website at www.ourfamiliesdoingyoga.com. You can find us on YouTube, where we share videos of our family doing yoga and short classes and things like that. And you can find the podcast on pretty much all the platforms now. It took a while to get on Apple, but I'm excited. And on social media, you can find us at Our Family's Doing Yoga, and our handle is at Black Kids Do Yoga.
Yes. Sanjoria has such an amazing account. Your kids are the cutest.
Adorable.
Obsessed with your videos. And so everyone go find Sanjoria if you are not connected with her over there. Yes. Thank you so much for being with us today. It was such a joy.
Yes,
thank you guys so much for having me. This was fun.
Yay.
Awesome. Bye.
Bye.
Oh my gosh. What a fantastic episode talking to Sanjoria. She's just warm and loving. And I just want to be like wrapped up in her voice, right? There's something just very comforting about talking to her and listening to her story.
Yeah. It was definitely a joy connecting with her. I got chills many times.
So many chills.
Yeah.
She speaks with a lot of clarity.
Yes.
And you had mentioned that she also paints beautiful pictures. She's very visually, she's a visual talker, right? There were so many things I had in my mind as she was speaking. And she speaks in like memes and Instagram reels too, which I very much appreciate.
Totally. I mean, that's the thing, is like when we listen to people, again, this is the collective we, but I could also speak for me, but I think we all do this. Like, we hear people through the lens of our own life. We hear people through the lens of our own perspective, through the lens we hear, but, and so some of the times when she was saying stuff, I was like, it just clicked in a different way. And it just felt super connected. And so, I just very much appreciate the way that she speaks. And also the meme part. It's like, sometimes you just got to paint the picture and like, we get it, like we totally relate to it.
She was definitely speaking our language with that.
Yes.
All right. So One of my takeaways was, it kind of happened early on in the conversation. It was like, oh, what must it have been like to be a child who didn't have anxiety? Because you and I have talked many times, and many of our guests have shared that they had anxiety as a kid that they didn't know was anxiety until they had a name for it when they got older, whether through therapy or research or other means of finding that out about themselves. So, and I just love that she was like the chill one throughout, like not just in her childhood, but then in her work as a teacher. And, she told that awesome story about how what her co-teacher or her head teacher or whatever was like freaking out. And I think she said, chill out. It's all going to be okay.
Yes.
And that was like her motto for so long before becoming a mama, before, she was pregnant with her first child, and then noticed that the experience was quite different when she was pregnant with her second. And I just really valued her sharing so much about her postpartum anxiety experience.
Yes.
And then how, when she decided that she wanted to help other women, right, specifically women of color in their breastfeeding journeys, that she took the time to research what they might be going through. And as she was in that process, that's when she had that aha, like, oh man, this is some of the stuff that I've been dealing with. Right. So it's not just the hormones, like people, like doctors and friends and neighbors and whoever are telling me.
Right.
That really stood out.
It's so powerful. And just how then they like include that in the community is the sharing, the peer sharing, the like, realizing that they all, the things they share and the things they don't share together. Because, growing up, I always heard about postpartum depression, but I never heard about postpartum anxiety. And now we've had at least 4 different mothers come on here and share about their own postpartum anxiety journey. And, I just wonder how many people like had those experiences over the years in their 4th trimester and never had a name for it. Right. And just thought whatever they thought. I think it's so valuable. One, she had the experience so she could relate to the woman she was working with. But 2, how they brought the community together.
Yeah. And just how much community seemed to be part of the conversation, like it has been for us and for so many of our guests in the past. It's like being able to say the things that you're going through, feeling out loud. And I think she called it a vent session at one point. It's like everyone's just kind of needs the space to share about what they're dealing with, whether it be anxiety or simple things like how to get through that day. Who knows? But I think we all need the people that we know we can turn to, no matter who. No matter what time of day, no matter when, and just say like, I'm having a hard time, I need support, and knowing you have a community there to kind of hold you and catch you.
Right. That there's nothing wrong with you. And that, I think this ties back into what she was saying about how, even when she was like overwhelmed and stressed and anxious, she just like, had it all together and put on a smiley face when she was out in public, when on the inside, it didn't always feel smiley. And, I just think that that's so valuable for people in community to, be able to vent, but it's not even being venting, even it's like being seen, being heard for their actual experience rather than pretending it's all okay when it's not. It's like so powerful.
Yes, totally.
Another one of the takeaways that I had was just, when she was talking about the fear of when she would say no, then not being asked again. And I really love the part where she was like sharing, like, okay, I've said no to this person 3 times and now I have to say yes. And that was for me, one of those like aha click moments. Like, I never thought about it like that, but I definitely tally the amount of like no's or boundaries or whatever. And then it's like, but I don't want to be like abandoned. I don't want to be forgotten. Now I have to say yes. And I love her ability to just say like, hey, I'm most likely going to say no, but I really appreciate the invite and please don't stop asking. I want to be included. Like, just so powerful.
Yeah. It seems like boundaries is one of her superpowers. Right. And so like, I think that's definitely a lesson. I feel like I've gotten really good at boundaries the last couple of years, and it is something that is an active practice for me. And I'm proud of myself. I'm grateful for it. And all the good people in my life that have stayed appreciate those boundaries. And so I loved too that she highlighted like not everyone maybe verbally says that they appreciate your boundaries, but she has that one friend that like reiterated to her, like, no, these boundaries actually make me feel good and safe too. Right. So it can be sort of a cyclical relationship. And when you start setting boundaries that are healthy with your friends, your family, your coworkers, your community, what they're going to learn, your children, right? Like what they're going to learn is that, oh, boundaries are okay. Boundaries are a marker for a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
So yeah, that totally stood out to me too.
Which, yeah, I mean, it ties into my final takeaway, which is when she was talking about being like the author of your own life. I've heard different ways of people saying that along the way, and I definitely like vibe with it. I like it, but the way that she really said it, and then the way she like painted the picture of like, taking on what you can take on and like, or what you want to add and just remove pieces of it. And the way she like painted that part out, and then how she shared about like your great grandnephews or nieces or whoever, like, what is the story that they're going to see of yours? Right. And so it's not just being the author of your life, but it's also understanding, how your story travels, how other people see your story. And if you are working on setting boundaries and you're working on self-care, like that is part of the story that you want others to see. Right. So it's like when you write a book, you want others to read it. Like, and so when you're being an author of your life, it's not just for you, but it's like impacting future generations and other people. And I just like, for me, that was just like a big, like, just like, aha, like, oh my gosh, that's so huge. And I love it. And it's so beautiful, like to think of your life that way.
Yeah, I agree. Just having that, we don't have control over a lot, but there are things we can have control over, even if they're small things that can grow into bigger things. And just that agency that we've talked about so often too. It's like we can let our anxiety take us over and take us down every moment of every day, or we can, wield it for good or strength or helping us tell our story in the way that we want to tell it. So beautiful. My final takeaway is just, I think you had mentioned this on the top too. It's just like those three things, those selves. It's being a self advocate. Yeah. It's that self-care. It's the self-compassion. She called it grace. For me, I thought of self-compassion, which is pretty much the same thing, right? It's the same concept. And so those three things right there are just takeaways, I think, for every warrior out there. If we can all advocate for ourselves more, show ourselves more love and self-care, and show ourselves more grace and compassion, I think we'd all be in better straits.
Yeah. And they are all connected. Like advocating for yourself is a form of self-care, right? Having grace and compassion for yourself is a form of self-care. Like, it's like they're all connected and support each other. I loved that like imagery.
Agreed. Oh, this was such a fun episode. So great. Had a blast and lightning round as always.
Yes.
So good. Thank you so much, warriors, for being with us today, for listening to this, our 50th episode. We're so grateful that you're with us. So excited to see what's next for us as we continue to journey with each other, with you all. Speaking of that journey, if you'd like to join us over on Instagram, you know where to find us. We're at Anxiety Warriors Podcast, at Anxiety Warriors Podcast over on IG. You can also shoot us an email at anxietywarriorspodcast@gmail.com. Hit us up with your wins of the week, topic ideas you're interested in us discussing. Or if you think you'd be an awesome fit as a guest on our show, we'd love to connect. Let's get it on the calendar. Your story is important and valid, and we'd love to help you tell it. Let's see what else. We are on YouTube.
Yes.
Head over there, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. All of our episodes are also over there if that's where you like to listen. If you have 2 seconds, which we know that you do, smash that 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen to the podcast. Drop us a review if that space allows for it. I know Apple does, Spotify does not. Come on, Spotify. You finally added a rating, but now it's time to add a review feature as well. And shop our merch.
Yes.
We have some really, really awesome stuff that you can buy over there on our Threadless shop. We got some new designs. We got our old tried and true favorites. Jump on the link in our show notes. And you can also find it in our link in bio on Anxiety Warriors Podcast on Instagram, and shop some swag for the anxiety warrior in your life or for yourself or both.
Yes.
All right, warriors, we love you so much. Thank you for being with us.
Yes. Thank you all so much for going on this journey with us. We're so grateful y'all are here.
Till next time.